Alrighty, ready on hand. Hello, everybody. This is episode 57 of Shoot the Breeze, a chill interview and chill time all around for you and me. I am your host, HeavyDivider. Alongside me here is, well, he's kind of a goofball, but he's a lovable goofball. As a matter of fact, on hand, he's so much of a goof on hand, he'll catch you off guard with simple one-liners when you least expect it. Just for reactions on hand. If you've been around this man on hand, you know what I'm talking about. My guest for the night on hand is Cool1nate. What we call him Nate for short. Welcome on in.
Hello, greetings, everyone.
Yep. Welcome on in. Hope you're doing all right, man. So,
Yep.
But yeah, let's just get started on hand with the first question. How the hell did we meet?
In full honesty, I wish I knew the answer to that. Like, when you sent me the questions on Sunday, I spent like at least a full hour just trying to think of how exactly we met, but I couldn't. Like, to be honest, it's the way it's with a lot of VRChat streamers that I've met and become friends with, is I just honestly don't remember how I met them. Like, most of them I found from them rating other VRChat streamers. So it's kind of gotten to a point where I don't remember how I met who through who.
Well, funny enough, I remember on hand how I met you. I met you through Journey. And believe it or not, it was basically during a time when basically it was me and everybody else hanging out in Arnie's group on hand, and I met you through Journey. And also, I didn't know anything about you on hand at first, here and there or so, but over time or so, I got a chance to get to know you on hand, and basically you became one of my good friends over time. And it was one of those things, because I remember on hand you originally had like a custom avatar that was basically just like a Neko boy, I think, with like a samurai sword that was like orange.
Yeah, it was an.
Oh, I got your mic.
It was probably the very first.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, I believe that was the very first avatar I ever started using in VRChat on the regular. It was just an orange e-boy, is what the world called it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I just used it because I liked the color orange at the time, and I also like swords. So, why not?
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I mean, everybody loves a color. And like, personally, I like blue. Like, I like blue to a point where basically it's like an aesthetic for me, be it like an overlay or basically for what I do on hand for the most part. Like, entirely on hand here and there.
Blue, so you've looked at it for so long that your eyes are blue.
Oh, your mic just went out a little, Getting. Go ahead. As I was asking on hand, basically, I met you for Journey, who basically I knew for Arnie and everything else on hand or so. I guess in the most part on hand, how did you meet Journey and everything else in the process too?
How I met Journey, I want to say I met Journey through Darling Rosie, because they spend a lot of time together, the two of them. Like, I found him as a mod in her Twitch streams originally, and then when I actually started playing VRChat again, that's when I started hanging out with them a lot more.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, there we go. I mean,
so yeah, the two of us have just been little adventures together.
Yeah, little adventures together here and there, and plus also just to be able to meet up and get a chance to know, everybody for that or so. Hey, that's it. I describe it like this: basically, we're all branches on the exact same tree. It's just we haven't really dug our roots so deep down that basically we've come together in a way. If that's a working statement, as best as I can describe. So, but yeah,
it kind of works. Yeah.
It works. So, speaking of which, let me get your VRChat Origins, which I feel like you might have described it, but there might be a little bit more depth to it. But
okay.
what got you into VRChat for the most part?
Well, every year I kind of do this thing where I try and get into something new, something that I haven't tried before, and I can't remember. I believe it was 2018, maybe 2019.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was 2018. One of the things I wanted to do was, like, just try a new social game that would, kind of get me out of my shy state. Because back before I became before I basically knew anything about online, before I like had a Discord or anything like that, I was a very shy person, and one of the things I wanted to try and do to kind of get me out of that shy phase was try a social game. VRChat was the first one I turned to because I saw a lot of clips on YouTube of a bunch of different people playing VRChat, and I looked at those clips and I was like, I want to have experiences just like those. So I created my account and started playing in desktop mode, but yeah, I started playing around, running around. Originally, I was running around as a Ugandan Knuckles, but that was just because I liked very, very small avatars. I just like being small at the time. And I remember, one of my first days in VRChat, I actually ended up on someone's YouTube video of they were just recording VRChat, and I just happened to be in the same world as them. And yeah, it was quite a funny scenario because it was a bird rave.
Bird rave?
Like a bunch of burbs entered the world and just like were convincing people to join them, join the burb army. I decided to, of course, join. The person who was recording, like, they were asked to be the bird ambassador for them.
Wait a minute.
Like, I can send you the...
Wait a minute.
I can send you the...
What? Okay, quick question. Do you remember, okay, in this whole thing, do you know somebody that looked like a Mafia member or so, like, say, out of a Mafia game by the name of Don Italiano?
I honestly cannot remember any
Because, funny you should say that. When you said Burb Raid, immediately I know for a fact Don Italiano had a Burb Raid that he was making on hand at that time that he was going to try to surprise Ernie with at one point. And I remember being part of that, too. To a point where basically I tried to join the... We all joined the exact same world to the point where we end up accidentally lagging him and he crashed him. There were so many he was part of, so I would not be surprised if you were actually part of that, too. Or if this is the exact same one.
Well, I mean, I can send you the YouTube video that I appeared in, and maybe that'll give you a clue as to whether or not they were connected in a way or not.
Yeah, that would work. That would work. I mean, because they would just help on hand, just to be able to clear up what it is. Because I can tell you, there's so many memories I can think up on hand that there may be a chance. Because keep in mind, in this weird world of VRC, there's a chance you probably crossed paths with somebody you didn't even realize. And then the moment you became friends on hand, you guys didn't even realize you crossed paths the first time around. That's the thing. So it could be a possibility. So let me ask you about your hobbies on hand besides this game in general. Now, I know you like to play a lot of Breath of the Wild. I know I didn't put it down, but Smash Brothers and Mario Kart, which has been memed on about you.
I play a plethora of games.
Yeah. Which has been memed on about you on hand for the most part here and there, as well as Memetopia, which you can tell how... Yeah, Memetopia. Metopia. Yeah, actually, I might as well call it Memetopia because that's exactly what's going to end up turning up on hand the moment I get to it.
That's basically what it is.
That's basically what it is.
What the fans have turned it into.
Yeah, that's basically what I would want to turn it into. Like, who wouldn't want to have a grand time with that? But yeah, do you have any other hobbies on hand besides like video gaming in general?
Yeah. Yep. Actually, one of the hobbies that actually got me into, that introduced me to the internet in general is writing. Like, just before I graduated from high school, my sister told me about this website called Wattpad where people can write stories and share them with others and stuff like that. And I honestly don't know why she told me at the time, because back then English was one of my least favorite subjects. Like, I honestly hated writing any kind of story, but at the same time, I was also a very creative person, and I would always create, like, different things and such. And so I guess my sister told me, because she knew I was a creative person, was hoping that writing stories could get my creativity out there to the world. So what I ended up doing was I just went on the website originally and just browsed around stories, mostly fan fictions. And yeah, through them, after reading a few, I was like, these are very interesting. I kind of want to try writing my own now. So I did start writing my own, And through it, I had a lot of people start reading my stories saying they liked it. And I even made a few friends as well, which ended up being some of my first internet friends. And as time grew on, I just like started realizing that through all these people that were motivating me, it was motivating me to want to write more stories. And I did have like another story at the time that I wanted to write that was an original story. I just didn't think there was any way I could get it off the ground. So I just started writing it there, and more people said that they liked it, and I just got a whole bunch more ideas for a whole bunch of different original stories, most of which I still need to work on. But
That's fair.
yeah, writing is one of the biggest passions of mine. Like, heck, I remember there was a time when I just had so many story ideas. I believe I had like 50 different drafts for different original stories that I had come up with. Like, I was that dedicated to writing at one point.
No, I got you. I got you. I mean, there's a good passion in just writing or basically come up with different things on hand for the most part. And believe me when I say this, I understand a lot about English because I mostly butcher it on a daily basis. Anytime you hear me speak, trust me, if it includes like more than 3 THs in a sentence, chances are I might accidentally like mispronounce it or basically just like dyslexia create a new word out of it on hand. Like I know the feeling. What's well with that is like with writing in general, even if it's not a story on hand, hey, it could be like a small like poetry on hand or something that you used to like formulate on hand for the most part. Like I've shared a story on hand with Arnie, who I did a podcast with, where I mentioned on hand that I used to have a character called John Doe, and basically he had a gimmick where basically anytime he talked, it was all in poetry, like it rhymed every single time he talked, like for the most part. And
so Dr. Seuss character.
Kind of a Dr. Seuss character. If not very cryptic. That's all I could say on hand. So it was it was something on hand for the most part, which at one point, you know, you can implement, like take that piece together and put it into something that you would make story-wise or so, which I guarantee some of the stories you made, you probably might turn into something and bring to like, say like an RP or basically something for you to share with the entire world. Yeah, like if you have a writer's block or anything.
Like, in fact, most of the stories I have written are short stories, and one short story that I did write once actually saved a friendship of mine because there was one of the first people I met online had a crush on me.
Okay.
But their parents didn't want us dating because of our age gap, and after she told me, she thought that I just didn't care about her anymore, and I was just trying to think of a way that I could tell her that I did still care about her. And one of the first things that came to my mind was, I'm gonna write a story for her. And I did, and like she told me, like as she read the story, she was in school and she was crying because of how emotional the story made her. So,
got you.
Yeah, that's another event that made me want to write more stories.
No, I got you. And it's understandable. I mean, keep in mind, like, creativity comes from the power of basically what you imagine the most and what fits the thing that you want to share to the entire world. So that's what matters on hand here. So what was the game that basically got you into gaming in general for the most part? Like, what got you started on the path of basically here and now?
So one of the very first gaming consoles that any member of my family had was, if I remember, wait, was it the DS or the game? I forget which exactly it was, but basically Nintendo was my introduction. It was basically my family, my dad especially, he had a habit of buying old broken game consoles from people and fixing them up. Like, especially the DS's, like, he ended up buying a lot of those and fixing them up and giving them to us so that, we could just play games. And I remember one of the first games I ever played on the DS, if I remember correctly, was Mario Kart DS. That was my first introduction to gaming as a whole.
Okay.
Like, that basically sparked my interest in gaming. But the game that got me interested in just Nintendo games in general was Metroid Fusion. because I played that game, and back then it gave me nightmares as a kid. Like, that's how terrifying I found that game. And so it just, because of those feelings it gave me, it made me intrigued to like find out more about Nintendo's games, what else they created and such. And from there I started, getting more into Nintendo until eventually I ended up buying my first game for the Wii U, Super Smash Bros.
I feel like it also sets you down into the horror path. Well, understand, Metroid Fusion is not a horror game, but basically, I'm pretty sure it sets you down the intriguing path of horror games. Because I know for a fact you attempt to play stuff like that.
Yeah, Metroid Fusion itself isn't a horror game, but just the scenarios it places you in. Like, you're being stalked by something that is a copy of you, and there's literally nothing you can do to defeat it. Like, you have to run away from it. Like, that scenario back then it scared me so much, but at the same time I just loved it. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to like continue playing games, because I wanted to get more experiences like that out of games.
No, I got you. And that's fair. That's fair too on hand to be able to have that for the most part. Especially, just like if it keeps you on your toes for the most part, but intrigues you to basically keep going, then that right there is a fun game to have on hand. Just to be able to do that for the most part. So let's talk about the VRChat scene now. In this current present right now of where we are now in VRChat at this moment, what do you think about it so far?
It reminds me of my greeting card, which is basically, I know that sounds odd, but it's basically, remember how when I said my introduction to the internet was me writing stories? That's basically what my introduction to, like, on most social platforms I will write out a little story that basically introduces people to me. And basically the story I've written is people are walking down a path, and then eventually they come into a clearing where I'm just standing there. I turn around, offer my hand, and say, "Would you like to join me for a grand adventure?" And yeah,
that's kind of like
basically
it for the most part.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, or at least that's what this world reminds me of. Like,
well,
I've been to a bunch of different worlds before, and like they've reminded me of a bunch of different things. Like, heck, I've even been to some VRChat worlds, and they've actually inspired me to create more stories. Like, they give me ideas for other stories, or I'll like be in worlds and like act out what I want my characters to do, and like that's one of the things you can find with VRChat is some of the worlds people create and some of the characters, avatars, people create, like they can just like inspire you to want to create your own things and such. Like, I'm sure you've had like moments like that as well, where you've probably seen like a world or two or an avatar or two, and you're like, I want to turn that into something.
Well, put it this way, I've had worlds on hand where basically it became a bit, if better yet, a concept of like the thing of what I strive to do on hand for the most part. Like, put it this way, whenever you get an atmosphere that basically that features like, you know, a sunset or maybe a mountain in the background where basically you could just see it and just see how tall it is, or basically just see like what it is or so, it's more of like an inspiration on hand, because again, a mountain is pretty much like, there's a lot of things on hand, but for the most part, for me to describe it as basically life is like a mountain, because you want to climb up to the highest point you ever want to be at, just to experience everything you ever wanted to achieve, you know? Be at the top of your own life of where you want to be for the most part. And I keep that concept with me anywhere I go, because, you know, I see it as that for the most part. Depending on what you want to do, be it, you know, streamer, writer, storyteller, content creator, digital artist, you know, anything you wanted to be in life or so, it's like a mountain. You try to climb as best as you can up it, but also keep climbing. That's the thing. And I tend to hold on to that belief for the longest time, just because, you know, let's be fair. Everybody here wants to plant their flagpole on top of their own mountain. no matter how tall or big, no matter how short or tall it is on hand, everybody wants to be at the top of it to see the peak of basically what is or so. Or, you know, basically say if there's somebody who has a similar mountain compared to yours, and basically you want to climb up to the top of it and see what they see, you know, be able to experience what everybody else experiences. Like, that's...
Yeah, I've definitely had that experience before. Like, I'll be to some VRChat worlds, and like I want to like meet with the person who created the map just so I can like find out what exactly inspired them to create it and stuff like that. Especially if it's, you know, one like this that has a very calming atmosphere and also like looks like it kind of has a story to it. Like, I know the camera can't see it, but there is a broken down house just over in the opposite direction over there. And you know, like seeing a world like this, like I kind of want to ask the map creator questions like, is there a reason you decided to put that house on the hill over there? Like, does it stand for anything or something like that?
Yeah. Pretty much simple questions on hand, or just be able to take in the atmosphere of things. That's the important thing. You know, just take it in, basically have your own things on hand here and there for what it is. So, let me ask you about streaming on hand for the most part. And for you on hand, when it comes to streaming in general, what is mostly your beliefs on hand, and basically what do you strive to do?
So, basically, I just want to do what I've found most of the people I look up to who stream and create videos. I just want to do what they do to me, and that's basically just place a smile on my face. Like, every once in a while, I'll watch someone who streams or someone who creates YouTube videos, and I'll just like laugh at like a joke they make, or smile at the events that go on. Like, one of the things I watch a lot on YouTube are clips of people's streams, and like just watching most of those clips, I'll like gain joy out of watching those, and I just want to do the same thing for the others as well. I want to create things to make people happy. Like, just place a smile on anyone's face I can.
Yeah, I got you, and that's very noble of you. Very noble of you on hand. Because, you know, it is an adventure on hand too, but for the most part, it's also, you know, trying to enjoy it the best you can of what you want to do. You know, if you're having fun, everybody else sees you having fun, then they have fun too, you know? It's a weird, it's an interesting cycle on hand for what it is.
Yeah.
So, good lord. Also, by the way, Langle said that they're going to kick Alex's ass.
They're not gonna get over that, are they?
I don't even know what you did. Was this on a Sunday? I was resting at that day.
Half yes. You'll find out come the next.
All right, I can't wait to hear this on hand. But I think the question is also very similar to streaming, but basically, being a content creator, what is that like for you? Because it's a different kind of setting tool compared to streaming, because with content creating, you basically got to learn how to edit your own ways or so, be able to like add your own quirks to it, you know, something that basically you would add, or something that you find funny, or something that basically was the moment that stands out with you on hand for the most part. Which is funny. I say that because there is a video when we did the Among Us map where basically that one quote from it, even if nobody else gets it, basically compared to the group of friends we have here, basically everybody gets it, that being, when in doubt, throw Nate out. That one.
Why does red have to be the most sus?
I don't know. Why did I have to take the Among Us red character, enhance it, like turn on the RTX on it, and find out that it's you? Why did you kill me 3 to 4 times in that one moment?
Hey, you've got the biggest head. I'm sorry. Just, You're the most noticeable.
Yeah, okay, clearly. So, note to self, everybody, if you ever take me anywhere in the world on hand, if I'm wearing a hat, you might as well just basically hope I'm hiding behind, like, the biggest tree possible where it doesn't stick out. God. Good God. But yeah, what is content creating like for you?
So, I will say this, it's definitely nowhere close to easy. Like,
Yeah.
it definitely takes work to create something that can make, you know, people happy, but at the same time keeping them wanting more of it. Like, especially with my Drawn to Life series that I'm recording on YouTube. Like, just recently I recorded some more episodes of that, and like, one thing I just find it difficult to do is just create dialogue, like just speaking to the people watching the video, even if when you're recording it no one's watching it at that current time. Just like trying to think of things to say during the gameplay to keep the others that are going to be watching the video in the future entertained. It's not easy. Like, when it comes to streaming, like, that's another story, because you have people watching live, basically whenever you are online. But when you're just recording something, unless you're like simultaneously recording and streaming, like, you don't have anyone watching you, but you know people will be watching in the future. So you just gotta try and think of things to say that will keep them entertained and wanting more.
Yeah, and usually there's a mastery to be able to do it on hand, which I can explain to you, is basically, if you're streaming, if you're basically recording something by yourself on hand, you just let your brain go wild on exactly what you can say on hand, because here's the thing, nobody's watching, so you can let any crazy idea or anything in your mind go wild for it, because that way you can just, and then basically it just shows on hand what goes through your mind when you, in these certain scenarios. In the case of basic streaming, it's also based on bouncing off chemistry of another person on hand. Like, put it this way, if you're by yourself solo on hand, you can describe whatever's going on hand for the most part, but at certain points, you might accidentally get too focused into the game where it's just kind of like, you know, go silent a little bit on hand for you. For you, mostly, because sometimes it's hard to describe what's going on here or so, because you're, like, so focused on it. You can tell when somebody's focused. Hell, I can tell when I'm focused, because it's like, you know, okay, I gotta go this way. You can tell by the voice on hand when you're focused, for the most part. But when it comes to chemistry on hand, and you have that good chemistry with a group of friends, trust me, it makes things a lot funnier for you to enjoy on hand. And if you enjoy it, they enjoy it, and people see that you guys enjoy it in our own interesting comedic way, even if people can't understand it, then, you know, that's what matters there. That's what matters there.
And that is another point I want to kind of bring up when it does come to content creator, is I feel like it's easier to create content or little gags when you have others with you. Like, either playing with you or just watching you play, because you can have conversations with them, and you guys can make up comments about what's going on in the gameplay and stuff like that, and it's more, well, it's more conversation than if you're just playing solo, because it's more people talking.
Yeah, it's also too, which, as I think about it on hand, it's one of those things where before, like, if you ever stream or so, like, if you're in a group like call or so with friends, or like a VC or so, sometimes you might, as a streamer, you might need to be in there earlier just to feed off the energy a little bit of everybody, because that way you could be a little bit more lively, so you could just kind of like get into it. And I've noticed that on hand too, because sometimes if you go in there without any energy on hand, it could be tough. People can see it. Like, they can't tell if you're tired, if you're just bored, or just like having a hard time like describing what's going on here and there. It's a thing on hand for the most part, which, as I think about it on hand, explains why certain people, even if they play a game by themselves solo, they're always in a call with people on hand, because they can just talk about anything, and it could just be like anything random for the most part, and it just becomes quite interesting. So there's a fundamental chemistry with it on hand, not like a scientific one, but more along the lines of a social one, to be able to, like, feed off the energy of others to be able to apply it to yourself, so you can just basically transfer it out and give it to those in it, in chat or so. Kind of like refurbish it in a way. So
yeah, that's another reason why I prefer playing with others rather than just playing solo, because I feel like I myself as the player also get a better experience out of that.
Yeah.
Not just the viewers.
Yeah, definitely. I could see it. I could definitely see it on hand here. So, for the next question I was going to ask is, do you have any funny or memorable moments on hand that you can remember off the top of your head? Like, the moment you close your eyes and think of funny moments, like, oh, that one, like it pops in your head immediately. First thing.
Funny moment that I can remember off the top of my head. Why is this the most difficult question out of all of them? Like, I know I've had several moments that, like, where I'm just playing a game and, like, I'll just laugh at something that happens in game. But at the same time, like, there's so many of them, like, just think of one is kind of difficult. But I do know, like, I have had a few, like, I guess one that I just thought of off the top of my head is when I was playing Breath of the Wild. Actually, there's a few times I played Breath of the Wild, and the physics in that game can be quite funny at times. Like, I know, like, sometimes I'll whack an enemy and, like, they'll, like, hang over the edge of something and then eventually fall off, or something like that. Or I know there's a weapon in the game, a bouncy hammer, where if you whack enemy with it, they just go flying. And I know, like, a bunch of other people as well have had fun with physics of games like that. Like, that's probably where most of my favorite memories come from, is just me playing with the physics of game. Cause, I just remembered, back on the Wii, there was this game my siblings and I played a lot. It was Wipeout. Like, I'm not sure if you remember that
I know the game show.
Yeah, like, I remember once, so when the one player is running across, the, field, I guess we'll call it, the hazard zone, the other players can throw balls at the character to kind of make them trip and stuff. And I remember one time when, me and my siblings were playing together, one of us, threw a ball at another person, they tripped, and their head got stuck in a rotating pillar, so they were just, like, rotating around
oh boy
with the pillar as their, like, body was just gyrating and stuff,
and
while they were spinning around the pillar.
And tonight on this tragic episode of Wipeout, oh boy, just like the unfortunate events on hand that could possibly happen with that, I swear. Like, I'm just picturing on hand too. Put it this way too. Like, I've seen Wipeout, I've heard of Wipeout. I've never sat down and watched, like, say, a full seasons of Wipeout. But the two things that pop in my mind is Bonsai from G4 TV, and once upon a time on Spike TV there was a show called MX. I think it was MXE. I think. I think it's MXE, but basically it's basically like different like some of these shows on hand from, like, Japan or so, where basically there's, like, English dub over it, but basically it shows, like, these different, like, courses and everything else people play on hand, and some of them are really crazy on hand for what it is, for all the funniness of it.
Watching some of those.
Yeah, I just remember them off the top of my head. But what is the motivation that keeps you going, by the way? Like, when it comes to streaming, content creating, or just basically being a writer, or just, like, anything that you strive to do, what keeps that motivation going for you?
So I basically said this earlier, when I was talking about my first introduction to the internet and me writing, is basically my friends are just people who say they love seeing me do what I do. Like, those are the people that inspire me, because, like, when I wrote my first story, I didn't think it would go anywhere. I just was writing for fun, and like, that was gonna be the only story I was going to write then, was I was just gonna write that, and then I was basically going to be me for writing. But when more people, like, started reading my story and telling me how much they loved it, it inspired me to want to continue. And the same can be said with most of the YouTube videos I've made and the streams I do. Like, hearing people say that they love watching the videos I make on YouTube, and hearing say they love my streams and the moments that happen in them, like, that inspires me to want to continue doing that. So basically, my friends and people who just genuinely enjoy the content I create, those are the people that help keep me going, that make me want to continue doing what I have been doing.
No, I feel you. I feel you, Hank, because it's one of those things where motivation comes from basically the idea of what you want to do, but it also comes from the idea of basically those who want to see you at your happiest, but also at where you want to be, too. Like, I can assure you on hand for the most part, Nate, that the people you know and the people we know on hand, they believe in the both of us of what we want to do. It's just, yeah, and and I guarantee you, basically, wherever you want to go or so, they'll be right behind you every step of the way. So that's the key thing.
Yeah.
Key thing on hand for you. But, I have some different topics on hand here. Now, this is kind of a weird one because I don't know from your side, but I'm kind of curious. Do you know anything about VTubing? Or any VTubers entirely?
Most of what I watch VTubing wise are clips of VTubers on YouTube, like either them like doing something or them saying something that. Basically, I just watch clips of different VTubers here and there,
okay,
and that's basically how I keep up to date with what most of them do.
Okay, so, well, what I was going to ask you is the VTuber current present on hand now. What do you, for the most part on hand, from the here and now, or so, like, say when it first originally started to where we are right now, what do you think about VTubing in general for the most part?
It has definitely, it's definitely gained a lot more interest from when it first started. Like, you're seeing a lot more people nowadays get into VTubing. Like, heck, even myself, I wanted to get into VTubing once. It's just, like, if I were to do that, where would I start? Like,
yeah.
How would I create my own avatar to do that and all that?
And it's like its own components of everything on hand, including like a program and basically what kind of like certain things you need on hand, which I can tell you on hand, you already got one of them, that being a webcam, because that way you could just easily like show yourself on, be able to move and whatnot. So that you're in the right step with that. But for the most part, it requires a lot of things on hand just to be able to do it. But as long as you're able to...
a lot of work to pull it off.
Yeah, well, as long as you're able to work towards it or so, you should be good when it comes to it on hand. Like, for where you gotta go. And that's the key thing. Anything you're looking forward towards in the future right now? Of what you got planned or anything that you want to work towards?
Currently, the biggest thing I'm looking forward to right now is Smash Ultimate's final DLC character. Like, that's probably the top of my list, because whatever that character is going to be, I can tell it's going to change the history of gaming, period. Because Sakurai has definitely done a lot to make, especially all the DLC characters in that game, like, as close to their homes as they can be. Like, you can just look at one of them and you can basically say this was pulled directly from its source. Like that man just put so much work into that game that I just look forward to seeing everything he does in the future when it comes to gaming. Like, you can tell he definitely puts his heart into all of that.
Yeah.
He definitely does deserve a break.
I mean, true. I mean, plus put it this way, he had to be very selective of what he's got to put in the game entirely on hand. So, so do not be surprised, because there's probably one person that I know who wants Doomslayer. Do not be surprised if, put it this way, be right in the middle. If it happens, yay. If it doesn't happen, that's fine. But just understand, I understand. You know how it is. So.
In full honesty, I could care less about who he adds at this point. Like, I got my character that I thought would have been impossible to place in the game, Steve from Minecraft. Like, he was the #1 on my list of characters that I not only wanted in the game, but that I believe deserved to be in the game, because Minecraft has become like one of, if not the biggest games in the world. Like, I'm fairly certain there's not a single gamer out there who doesn't know what Minecraft is.
Yeah.
And that found its way into the biggest gaming crossover of all time, which was a possibility that I honestly thought would be impossible, but
yeah, most people thought
creator Sakurai
most people thought it was impossible.
Yeah.
And I understand when I say reason being is because people memed on it and be like, oh, they're gonna be putting Minecraft in, oh, they're gonna be putting, sands in, or certain things on hand to meme wise, and then
like,
basically Sakura just said, showed you.
He proved, he proves time and time again that the word impossible to him means literally nothing.
Or it's just more along the lines where they basically, if you troll long enough on hand, Sakura would just basically put it in there and just see what your reaction would be, because he would pull the biggest troll on you. That's the thing. That's a possibility I believe could happen. Like, I could just picture it. Because again, it just kind of blew my understand. When you guys happy on hand when Minecraft Steve was in for the most part on hand, like, I understood why you were happy, but at the same time, or so on the perspective of my end, when it's been memed on so many times on hand, the moment they see it on hand, I immediately think in my mind is, did they just cave in because of how many times people memed on it or something? They'd be like, here you go.
Like, I did see your reaction to that. You were literally like, well, this year literally can't get any weirder.
yeah, you couldn't get any weirder on hand here. Like, what more can you throw at us on hand? That's the thing. But, I have a curveball question to ask you, and I say this is a curveball because anybody's got a different answer to this, and sometimes maybe depends on how much free time on hand. But let's talk about anime. Let's talk about anime on hand. So I have 3 questions on hand with this subject of anime. First question on hand is, when I say the word anime, what's the first series that comes to your mind?
One of the first series that comes to my mind is probably a series that comes to a lot of people's minds, that being Sword Art Online.
Sword Art Online.
And that's more than... Actually, wait, no, that wasn't the first anime I ever watched.
But it was the first thing that came to your mind,
that's
so...
Right. Yeah, it was because when I started getting into anime, after I watched the first anime I ever watched, Sword Art Online was the next anime that I watched. The first anime I ever watched was Digimon, because at a library that's not too far away from where I live, they had a kids section, and one of the DVDs series that was on the shelf was Digimon. I decided to rent it one day thinking it was Pokemon, but when I actually started watching it and getting more yeah, I know, I'm fairly certain there's quite a few people who have made
a mistake. Man, Pikachu looks like a dinosaur. Wait a minute.
Man, they really changed up the seasons here.
The hell did they do the Bulbasaur?
But yeah, as I started watching that and getting more into it, I just got more intrigued to learn more about anime, and so I got on Crunchyroll and started watching whatever I saw on the recommended page.
I just got the mental image in my head, basically somebody showing, what the hell is the name of that flower Digimon or so? That evolves into Cactusmon or something. Imagine somebody having a picture of it, and basically the caption below it is, "What the hell did they do to Bulbasaur?" Just that just pops in my mind. It's like somebody doing this. Sure, they show Birdmon. It's like show Birdmon, but what happened to Pidgeot or something? Just somebody who's basically doing it's just to mess with people, and it's like I've got a smile on my face just because of how stupid it is, but at the same time how hilarious that would be.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Funny enough, I started watching anime on my Wii U. Like, that's why I started watching it, because Crunchyroll used to be an app on the Wii U. So that's why I started watching anime, was on my Wii U.
Well, funny enough, when it comes to the Nintendo Switch, I think you can access Crunchyroll off that too.
No, sadly, Crunchyroll isn't on the Switch.
Even for a website?
Checked.
Wait, is there? Do they not have like a website app on that or something?
No, there's no app on the Switch to go online.
Huh. Okay. I could have sworn it could have been like exploited on here, where you could just like view like the internet for it or so, like YouTube or so.
Like,
I know.
The reason why Nintendo removed that was because that's how hacking on the Wii U was made possible, was people went to the browser and through any kind of media player, they could basically,
Okay.
you know, easily just hack into it
Okay.
that way. So that's why they
wasn't aware.
removed it for the Switch.
I wasn't aware on hand. Wasn't aware for
couldn't
that.
be an option.
Second question I have on hand is basically if you had a top 3 or top 5 like anime, like say if you had like a list for like top 3 or top 5 for like any animes that you like on it, what would that be?
Alright, so number 1 on the list for me would possibly, I haven't seen all that many anime. I'm just gonna put that out there. So don't be surprised with this list I will give you, but the number 1 anime on that list would have to be My Hero Academia.
That's fair.
Because, like, I started watching ads for it, and so I kind of got intrigued to start watching it, and as I did watch it, like, I just, you know, I, like, started growing feelings towards the main character, and stuff like that I'm sure a lot of people have done when watching anime. Like, they'll watch a character and be like, I just love how this character is, and that's how I was. Like, I loved how Deku, the main character, how his story played out. Like, he had a passion for wanting to become the world's greatest hero, but at the same time, he didn't have a quirk to begin with to become that. But regardless, he continued forward with his passion. No, even though being said by multiple people that it would never become a reality. And I'm kind of the same way. Like, I have like a passion for writing and creating content myself, and I know that because with everything you do, there's always going to be people that are just gonna hate on you for one reason or another.
Just try to blow, just like blow you
kind of,
off. Like, you know, you ain't gonna do that or so. Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah, you just gotta push past them and prove to them that, you know, you can become what you want to be if you put enough passion into it.
And be consistent.
Yeah, and that is...
Be very consistent with it.
And that is one of the reasons... Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why My Hero Academia is number 1 on my list, because, like, that's how I view it.
No, that's fair.
I'm not sure if there's any others I can put on the list of favorites, but My Hero Academia for sure is my number 1 favorite anime.
That's fine. That's perfectly fine on hand. Which might actually lead into the third question of it, that being, what is the anime that hit you close to home? Like, as soon as you watch it on hand, like, you felt it on an emotional or personal level.
Yeah, definitely My Hero Academia.
Okay.
Like, I remember, there was a specific episode where All Might, after feeding Deku his DNA through, you know, feeding him a strand of his hair, he started training Deku. Like, they went down to the beach, he started, like, moving a bunch of trash and stuff. And then at the very end of that episode, All Might came over and saw that Deku had kind of created a mountain of trash, and Deku was kind of on the top of it, just screaming his lungs out with, like, all buffed out because of how much he had been training. And that scene right there kind of spoke to me, because it showed me that Deku was basically there for a long, long time, moving all of that just so that he could make his passion of becoming the world's greatest hero come true. And he basically proved in that moment that he could do it. And All Might himself also saw that and continued training him and got him enrolled in I forget the name of the school, but basically the superhero school that he trains at.
I gotcha. I mean, it's understandable on hand. Like, trust me, if you're gonna put like a lot of like blood, sweat, and tears into something, to where basically you want to see it through to the end, then you know that's passion in a nutshell. That's the definition of passion right there.
I especially love when the people who voice the characters like get so into character themselves to a point where they start to feel themselves like they are that character. Like, kind of going a little off topic, but at the same time it's kind of on topic at the same time. One of my favorite scenes is from Xenoblade Chronicles is when Shulk watches a character basically get hurt really bad. I'm trying to keep this as vague as I can for spoiler reasons.
No, that's fine. That's perfectly fine.
But through watching that character get hurt, he gets so angry, and the voice actor, I believe, just did a perfect job at portraying Shulk's anger in that moment. To where, like, you could feel the anger that the character felt in that scene. Like, I made a YouTube video on that specific scene just because of how much I love that scene. Like, even one of the streamers that I used to look up to and watch a lot that made me want to get into streaming myself, even he said that was his favorite scene, because he showed it off on stream himself one time, and he pointed out how that one specific scene, how the actor himself got so into character into that one moment, and you could just feel the anger the character felt. Like, you could feel that he just wanted to destroy everything in that one moment.
No, that's fair. That's fair. And it's understandable too, because, you know, all I can say on hand is anger is a very powerful thing, you know? Depending on exactly what wronged you and basically what you were planning on doing about it, you know, it's a strong thing. So, I have one last question here for you, and I'm going to bring this camera over, because that way everybody can see you here. Give me 1 second. Let me just make sure I can bring this over here.
Hello.
Just make sure that's lined up on it. All right. There we go. That works. Okay, so the question I have on hand for you into this camera is, what are your... Oh, hold on a second. Got to tilt that correctly. There we go. Okay, that works just fine. All right. So the question I have on hand for you is, what are your goals and dreams? And at best, what is the best advice you can ever offer to anybody? I'm going to let you have center stage for this.
So, basically, most people who do know me, or that have at least asked me a similar question to this on hand, know that my dream in life is to make anyone and everyone happy however I can. Like, my dream in life is to make as many people as I can in this world smile, and through creating content, like creating videos on YouTube, through streaming, through writing my stories, I'm just hoping that I can do just that. Like, I know I may not be the best at doing it, but I am putting my 100% into it in hopes that one day my dream does become true, because I absolutely do want this dream to come true. I want to make as many people as I can in this world happy. And for the job that I have done, like, I'd say so far I am doing, well, in my eyes, I'm definitely moving forward with that goal. And, yeah, basically, if you guys have a passion for something, always go 100% with it. Because if it's genuinely something that you are passionate about, like if you are passionate about streaming and want to stream, then put your 100% into streaming. Because people will see that you are putting effort into it, and they will start coming to your streams and complimenting how they love the streams and stuff. And like, through that, you will just start to feel joy. Like, if you want to write stories, for a passion, like if you one day want to publish a book or something like that, like just continue writing. Like, heck, I remember one of I forget the name of the movie exactly, but it's about this drummer who was very, very passionate about drumming. And there was one specific scene in that movie where he was just playing the drums so much for so long that his hands eventually started bleeding. And like of course, like, if you're like passionate about writing, don't write until your hands bleed. Of course, take care of yourself no matter what. But if you are passionate about something, continuously work on making that passion a reality. Because if you work hard enough on it, eventually you will see that become a reality. And in turn, you will see that you are making people smile with doing what you are doing. And in turn, you too will start to feel joy from that as well. So no matter what you do, if you are passionate about something, never give up on it. Give your 100%. And that's the best advice that I feel like I can give most of anybody.
Okay, I got you. No, that's good advice. Good advice on hand here for them. And I will say, like, trust me, everybody wants to get out there 100% and just be able to have, like, just be able to go out there and just do what they enjoy the most. That's the thing, too. And also, that thing you were talking about, the person playing the drums so hard and everything bleeding on, I believe that was Whiplash.
Yeah, that's the name of the movie.
Movie Whiplash.
But yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But yeah, if you're willing to put 100% in everything, just to see if... Now, here's the thing, too. I say consistency a lot, because people will use years as an experience on hand, but sometimes if you use years as a consistency, you could show how long you've been going at it and show how long you're going to continue to go at it just to achieve that accomplishment, that milestone, whatever you want trying to work for on hand here. And sometimes, when it comes to achieving things on hand, time takes a back seat for you because you don't think about time. You think about basically what you can do to improve and basically try to hone and craft the shape of what you want to work for and be able to make it into the finest thing that you would just share joy and love to everybody else for. And there's going to be people out there who will love it. Maybe there might be people out there who don't care for it. But the thing is, if you love it, and those around you that you have who are your friends, you consider family, those who basically will stick with you to the very end of where you want to go, that they love it, that's what matters. That's what matters for the most part. I can promise you that on hand. If they could see it for the most part and care about it, then that's what matters. That's who you're trying to make who you're trying to make people smile for. So, before we go and before we call it on hand with the interview, does anybody have any questions for Nate here? Any questions at all for the most part, if you want to ask him on hand, be it, personal, curiosity, memes too. Never forget, memes is a thing. It's also a topic too. It should be on a topic of lists on hand, kind of like, you have your science, automobiles, memes, it's up there somewhere. So
we make it a new subject in school, just
okay.
memes.
Okay, well, first thing first, from Chaotic, why are you gay? And for the record, you can't say because it's Pride Month. I already used that one. I've already used that.
I'm fairly certain I am straight.
Okay, well, there you go.
That's the best answer I can give for that.
That's fine. That's fine. Hey.
Yeah.
Hey. It's all good. Hey, put it this way. It's the personality that counts. That's all that's important, no matter what.
Yeah.
That's personality.
Yeah. I do have a question for myself.
Okay.
If you don't mind me asking myself my own question.
Okay.
Basically, because every time I am able to top in for one of your Shoot the Breeze interviews, I always end up asking the same question. And I just want to ask myself that question, and that is if there's any game out there that I believe deserves the title of the best game in the world, what game that is, and why I believe that.
Sure. Yeah, you can.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyone who knows me knows that my favorite game of all time is Super Smash Bros., specifically the newest one, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And that is purely because the creator, Sakurai, has just put so much work into that game. Like, you can tell, like as I said earlier, especially with the DLC characters, he has done his best to make those characters seem like they were ripped straight out of their series. Like, you can look at one of the characters, play as them, and you can tell, like, it is 100% legit from that game. Like, it's not some spin-off or something like that. And, like, some people out there know that I have gone on the record as to saying that I believe Smash Ultimate is the greatest game of all time, but at the same time, I believe that my opinion on that is wrong. Because, like, when it comes to the perfect game, you gotta think, what does make a game perfect? You know, is it the gameplay? If it has a story, is it the story? Is it the character design and stuff like that? Is it the graphics? Is it, you know, the voice acting, stuff like that? There's a lot of things you need to consider. But in full honesty, there's not really any game out there that we can fully say is perfect. Like, every game is made differently. Some have a lot better graphics than others at the cost of, like, not having a story or something like that. Some games have a lot more bugs than others do, but at the same time are fun to play and stuff, sometimes because of those bugs that are in the game. So why would I give any game, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate in particular, the title of the best game in the world if I believe can't be such a thing as the best game in the world? And that it goes with the saying that I basically stated for the advice I gave, and that is that the creator of the game has passion. Like, he has put so much work into this game, and you can tell that he has put his heart into this game. Like, he is doing everything he can to make this game the best he can for everyone he can. And yes, there are some people out there that dislike the game for one reason or another. Some people may not like the game because Waluigi isn't a playable character. Others may not like it because there is one character that is a playable character that they believe shouldn't be a playable character, period. But, like, if you just look at the game on the surface, like, look at all the characters, see how much Sakurai has done to make them as if they are from their home series. And even, like, if you look past the characters, like the music, all the spirits that he's added so much to this game. Some things, like, you'd look and you'd think, like, you'd never picture it to be in the game in the beginning, but it is there. Like, Sans from Undertale, or any Undertale content, period, I never thought I'd see that in the game. Like, I honestly thought Minecraft would get in before any kind of Undertale stuff. But with the release of Banjo and Kazooie, Sakurai released a Mii costume of not only Sans, but a remixed music track of Megalovania, Sans' main theme. And I was just so shocked by that. And it just goes to show that Sakurai will continue to move forward and show that he can make anything happen. The word impossible means nothing to him. Like, if fans want something in the game, like, even if he thinks it'll be too big or something like that. Like, I remember one of the biggest things people were talking about was that Ridley would be too big of a character to be playable, and Sakurai proved them all wrong by adding him in.
Yeah.
Like,
I get you.
he's just put so much work into this game, and I absolutely appreciate him for doing just that, because he has created something that no one else in gaming has.
Yeah. No, I got you. Can I just point out one observation? And I'm pretty sure everybody in chat notices this on hand. Remember early on when you talked about when you were trying to get a VRC, you were always shy and everything? You know, trying to talk and everything on hand? Look at you now.
Yeah.
Look at you now.
I now have a whole roster of people just by my side.
No, I was gonna say, look at you now. You're very talkative. Very talkative on hand. Asked your own question, answered your own question. Look, just look at you now. So, basically, I remember. Hold on a second. I remember. Where are you? Trying to find it. It was a question from Journey asking, "Why are you the way you are?" with a certain face to it. So they were asking about that.
Am I the way I am?
Yep. Yeah, I see it now.
Well, everyone is unique in their own special ways. Like, I am me just as much as you are you.
Also, Langle asked, why are you such a meme? Which basically, I forgot, Journey just said that's the same question. Okay. Alright, well, there you go. Same question on hand for that. Let me see here. Trying to get back down here so I can see this on hand. So, and also, Langle, I think that's the exact same question on hand, too, that you asked as well. So, but basically, Chaotic has an RP question asking you to, is basically, why did you make Vok that avatar? Any specific reason?
So, the old Vok avatar, like, as much as I did like it, well, Vok originally wasn't going to continue on in the guild. Like, I was planning on having him get killed off at the final fight, but as I made him become a member of the guild to help them take down the consuming shadows, like, as I just started playing as the character a lot more and more people started interacting with them, like, I noticed that they started liking how I was playing as the character, and I too was liking how I was playing as the character. So I was trying to think of a way I could keep them alive while still going through with the plans I had for the final. And I found this avatar and gained the idea of just having the weapons that he would wield just fuse with his body, and that's basically how Vok became what he is now.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah.
No, okay, and I got you on hand. KR was just sharing their opinion about Sakurai, saying he's done good with the game. The problem, basically, all Nintendo does is not listen to their community platform players. Which, you're gonna have that in any other company on hand here. There's an obvious one I could point out, but I'm not going to. And Jerry just saying, you're special. That is correct, Nate. Let's see here. Not a question on hand from Omega on hand. Which, Lango, I'm pretty sure they're just going to tell you the exact same question on hand. Lango just basically asks, why are you such a straight? Which, I'm pretty sure he's just going to say, because why are you such a straight? Why does that sound like an insult if I ever heard one? Just like, why are you such a straight? That sounds like an insult now that I think about it.
Why am I such a straight? I'm Christian? Is that a good answer?
I don't know. I'm just gonna leave it where it is, that's all. I don't know.
Okay.
But Omega basically says, not a question, but more of a statement. Nate is one of the greatest friends. You meant the old one. You meant the old one. Okay, gotcha. Anybody else got any other questions on hand for the most part? I do have one that I was gonna ask you. Cool1nate. Where did that name come from?
Okay, so this is quite an interesting story. Going back to the days of the Wii U, where it seems like most of my stories start out, when you
Uh-oh.
and all that. Like specifically,
You're about to... Yeah, you're lagging hard. Hold on a second. Go in and say a sentence real quickly.
Yeah, hello, hi, greetings.
Yeah, okay, I can hear you. Okay, I'm making sure. Yeah, you were lagging hard a little bit. Okay, you should be good now.
Yeah, ping rose there for a moment, but yeah. But basically, back in the days of Wii U, I'm sure most of you remember Miiverse.
Yep.
That beautiful little place that a lot of people had. One of the things that was required of you to have during that was a Nintendo Network ID.
I remember.
And for some reason, you can't change that after you've made it. And I just decided to name my Nintendo Network ID Nate. I don't know what popped into my head to make that at my ID. Chose, and after there for a while and realizing that I couldn't change it, I just decided to start.
No, I was just double checking because it was doing that weird kind of like robotically thing a little bit. But you're good now.
Yeah.
Now, I heard you a little bit here and there. It was just doing that point where basically it was almost going to cut you off completely. I'm just making sure. Go ahead. Sorry.
But yeah, basically after I realized that I couldn't change that, I decided to just like start making all kinds of social media that I was using use that name, Cool1nate. And as time started progressing, I started realizing how kind of accurate that was to what I kind of stood for. Like, I was someone who created a bunch of different OCs, and sometimes I would make myself. Like, one of my favorite OCs that I made.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, one of my favorite OCs that I made to be pretty close to what I was. His name was Cool.
Okay.
But I named him that after the username, and so the username kind of indicates how that OC of mine and myself are kind of almost one in the same. Like, Cool and Nate are both one in the same.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's a cool little play on words. Like, Nate is a cool one.
I got you.
Stuff like that.
I get you. Nate. Also, Kyle was saying, I meant for you to ask what made Nate pick the original avatar to represent Vok, not the current one. So basically, the original avatar for Vok, why did you pick that one for the character in general?
So I basically wanted some kind of beast-like avatar, and when I went to the world where I found Vok's model, I looked at it, was like, I feel like I can make this work. Like, originally, New Era and the final villain that I was having, I wasn't planning on having them do anything, or at least not all that much, with shadow beings or shadow demons. But as I like started progressing the characters more, creating the characters more in depth, and started continuing forward with the story more, like, I just started making them all become more shadow until eventually the entire team became shadow. And that is basically, yeah, so Vok basically helped me create New Era into what it became, so that it could push my voice story forward.
Okay, I got you on him. So, does anybody have any more questions on him for the most part for Nate, or is everybody good on hand? I will say I know for the fact that your favorite game company is based on Nintendo. So, since it consists of a lot of things on hand here and there for the most part, here and there. Did you ever okay, so you never actually played like any of the old Nintendo like gens for the most part, like 64, Super Nintendo, GameCube. You started out with Wii and Nintendo DS.
A couple of sometimes I would, like, my family never owned a GameCube or any of those big consoles. Also just a handheld family, like we all had our own little PS consoles because none of us like sharing.
No, I get
sure you know that feeling when it comes to games.
Yeah.
But like every once in a while I would play like GameCube, Super Smash Bros, Melee and stuff because my cousins had a GameCube, and every once in a while like my family would be in plays every once in a while, and in the waiting room where we would wait until we were called on stage, they had video game consoles all lined up. I remember they had a GameCube with Smash. I remember they even had a Nintendo 64, and they had like Diddy Kong Racing and all those classic games, and so I did get to play them. I just never owned them.
Okay. No, I got you. I got you on hand. Because I grew up on the original Nintendo Classic one on hand, and I just remember my first games on hand being like, first, you know, Super Mario. Well, actually, just Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt. I remember trying to play track and field, but the pad didn't work for the pad didn't work for crap on it, because no matter how much you try to stamp on a hand, you just end up hurting your feet more than you actually make it look like you're actually running.
Yeah.
So I remember that. Also, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade. That was a good one too. I don't see any more questions on hand for the most part, but I'll go ahead and just say for the most part, that'll be episode 57 of Shoot the Breeze.